The police called after midnight when they caught our son at a drinking party. It was a real wake-up call. A policeman suggested we try Al-Anon family groups. I didn't want to go to a meeting, but I'm glad I did. Are you troubled by...
This is WGBB AM 1240 and W240 DFFM 95.9 Freeport, New York.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.
And welcome to WGBB Radio Muscle Sport Media Live. I am your co-host, Joe Pietaro, sitting across from my buddy, Anthony Tuminello. Anthony, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Good to be here again.
Absolutely. Over here, they got Trevor behind the glass here at WGBB Studios here in Merrick, New York. And, of course, thank you to Noah Construction-Builders.com. You heard the commercial at the start of the show and you heard it at the end. Also, they are our title sponsor. Thank you very much to Noah Constructions for that. If you want to call in, ask us any questions, 516-623-1240. This show is live on 95.9 FM at 1240 AM and also live stream video on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, WGBB's account. So many different ways to get this show. And you also will be able to check it out on musclesportmag.com afterwards. It'll be up there as a archive. So, Anthony, we were discussing this morning topics, and you came up with a great one, I thought. What is the topic this evening?
We thought about, because obviously biceps is a big thing when people are working out, obviously, especially men. So let's discuss the best bicep exercises, the all-around bicep exercises. First of all, let's break down the biceps. So biceps are two muscles. That's what it's by, right? You got your biceps radialis and your biceps brachialis. Okay, so the radialis is the top guy, when Arnold gets the softball, and then the brachialis is the bottom guy. Okay, so there's different ways to hit these two muscles. Okay, so obviously when you're doing any kind of curl, you're hitting both of them. But what we could do is target certain areas. Okay, so best bicep exercises, let's say. Okay, so let's just talk about the brachialis first. Well, like I said, is the bottom bicep. All right. So when you're trying to hit that or target that a little bit more, there's two really good exercises to do. Now, people that work out, they see magazines, they see on the internet, they probably know some of this stuff. But the two best ones, okay? So what I personally think is a wide grip barbell. So a wide grip barbell. So what I like to say is you do something called the anatomical position. So wherever your hands lie when you drop them, that's the anatomical position. Now, what you want to do is just slide your hands out a little bit so it's a little bit wider than the anatomical position. And when you curl, you're curling to your shoulder. And that's kind of targeting your brachial bicep. Again, the bottom one. Okay.
Now you're saying a little bit further than shoulder width grip.
Right.
Because usually, like you said, the anatomical, I'm picturing in my head, you mean like a shoulder width grip is the usual.
Right. But if you actually think like we said, so wherever, let's say you got your hands up and you just bring them down with your elbows in. So wherever your hands land is, technically your anatomical position. You understand? Okay. So I like to go a little wider than that to target more of the brachial bicep, which is under the radial, the top guy. Okay. And then the other way, obviously, is to do hammer curls with either dumbbells or any kind of hammer grip. Now, what a hammer is, obviously, it's like you got the grip like you're hitting a hammer on on a nail. So that's the same concept. So what that does is that does target the brachial bicep, but it also gets your forearm, which is your brachial radialis, which is your big forearm muscle, which people tend to neglect. And that's a big part of the arm too.
Oh, yeah.
You follow me?
Connects the bicep too.
Absolutely. So. I tend to have a big, I don't know why. I've always had a big brachial brachioradialis muscle. And, you know, my biceps were always lagging a little bit, but for some reason that overpowered, you know, any kind of curls that I was doing. So I had to target it a little different way.
Yeah.
But like I said, those are the two targeted brachial bicep exercises. Now the radial, the top one, like we talked about, Joey, right? That's where your straight curls come to play. Your concentration curls come to play. And that's obviously hitting every different angle of that. So your straight curls is, you know, you're holding a bicep curl. You're holding a, you know, a dumbbell or a barbell, whatever the case, and it's straight, right? So it's straight. So you're bringing it straight up, elbows tucked in. You're bringing it straight up to your shoulder, keeping your elbows tucked and straight down without any twist or anything like that. You follow me?
Yeah.
You could target it with cable curls, all right? Standing cable curls, seated cable curls. But again, the key for just the radial, right, is keeping your palm to the ceiling. To the ceiling with that. Now, if you kind of see, I wish you guys could kind of visualize this on the radio here. You kind of see it, you know, on the video here. So if you got a bicep, right, if you notice where I change my grip, you could see the different heads of the bicep move.
As you're twisting,
twisting my wrist. Okay. So you guys can see that as you're twisting, you got your brachioradialis working, you got your brachial bicep on, you know, with this is the hammer, right?
There you go with the hammer.
And then obviously when I'm twisting this way, right, this would be just the radialis. You follow me? Now, you see people do a lot of the preacher curls, right?
Yeah.
So what does that do? That's a combination of both. Now you could actually get a lot more power and strength with a preacher curl because you are using, I mean, listen, you're using both biceps with every curl that you're doing, but you're kind of evenly distributing that strength with the preacher curl.
Bench.
Absolutely. And there's all different angles. Like I said, what I always like to tell people is you rotate your tires. So you're trying to, it's like a car. I use a car analogy when it comes to fitness for almost everything because the truth be told, you know, a car and a motor and all that stuff is built like a body, human body. You know what I'm saying? So that's basic bicep anatomy. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, you hit it from every angle, but just remember, you're not, the key is you're not just doing a regular old bicep curl. You got to switch the angles up a little bit to get that overall look. You know what I mean?
Now, when you're bringing the easy curl bar into the picture now, how does that differentiate from a straight bar curl?
You mean the preacher
curl? Yeah. Easy curl bar. There's different, there's a wider grip and there's the narrow grip.
That's a good question. So the wider grip gets more of the brachial bicep, right? Brachioradialis. And the closer grip, it's, you know, you're still getting that same angle for the brachioradialis and the brachial bicep, if I'm confusing people. But that does target the closer grip. That targets more of the top. You know, right? So there's all different angles to hit that. Then there's all different angles for your shoulder. You know, I'm trying not to get complicated. Bottom line is you always want to what, Joey? Rotate your tires and
Different
switch
exercises.
the angles, right?
Yeah.
There's different positions for a bicep curl that your shoulders lie in. You could have your shoulders tucked back. That's something called a sweep curl. All right. You can have your shoulders all the way forward, right? For the preacher bar seated. All right. And again, that hits a different angle.
Or spider curls.
Correct.
If you want to do on
Correct.
the lying bench. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a ton of stuff you could do. So not I don't want to complicate everything, but once again, always try to switch up your
so
angles.
Many variations
There
of
is.
a curl.
There is.
Barbell, dumbbell, straight bar, easy curl bar, preacher bar, whatever you call it. I like to still call it Scott curls.
Yeah.
From Larry Scott, the Scott bench, the Scott curl bar.
Right.
Because I'm an old man. And that
Right.
was what we were taught. The Larry Scott, who was the first Mr. Olympia, 65 and 66. So basically you can do them standing. You can do them seated. You can do them like the spider curls. You're lying down doing curls. There's so many variations, you know, obviously, but they all boils down to pretty much curls.
Yeah.
Are going to be the basic of the bicep, hammer, curl.
Well, just like, you know, your boy Craig said, right? I mean, Craig Valentino, what do you say?
How do you get big biceps? Curls.
So what he means by that, right, is listen, Your bicep only does one thing. It's a single joint movement. So your bicep, it's not multi-joint like your shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, your bicep only does one thing.
It's a pull.
All right. It curls. It brings, this is, it brings your fist, your arm to your shoulder. One joint movement.
Yeah.
Same concept when you do your hamstrings.
Yes.
Single joint.
It's the leg bicep.
It basically is. It's
a lot of
pull.
people call it the leg bicep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you do, huh? Let me ask you a question. I do an exercise that I started doing it a couple of years ago, and I find it's different. I hit it from a different angle. Usually I use a straight bar, kind of more of the tricep push down because I do a superset with that. So that medium bar or even the smaller bar. I like to do high cable over the head curls where I actually tuck my chin and I'm curling to get a longer range of motion from the top. So it's a 45-degree angle on the cable over my head. Is that something that is good, bad, or because I'm like I said, I'm trying to
what?
Get a variety.
What did we just say? What are you doing?
Change the tires.
Right. You're rotating
the
your
tires.
tires.
So do you think, is that an exercise that should be part of a repertoire? Or is it something that's really not? It's not a good angle to hit from bicep.
I don't think it's the greatest angle for building the bicep, but it is a good angle when it comes. Again, you're hitting the bicep from a different angle.
Yeah.
So it's a good angle when it comes to isolation, like we talked about last week. You know what I mean? It's not the greatest because you can only get a little. You have to. It's
limited. It is very limited.
Well, I'll give you why it's okay, because it's very good for you know what isometrics is. So it's isometrics. It's very good for like a squeeze of that bicep.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and I like to go negative. The negative movement is, again, that's how you build in muscle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got your concentric, eccentric, right? So, and then you got your isometric. And that's when you're holding and squeezing. So I do like that exercise, squeezing that and then coming slow on the eccentric movement back. That's actually a decent one. Absolutely.
And Anthony's saying the negative, that is basically just when you're returning to your starting position.
Absolutely.
And if you do that slow, that like you said, that's why I like to do lighter weight, because I could focus on these things and the squeeze. I can focus on the slower, longer rep, longer range of motion, extending my range of motion by moving my head out of the way. Where if I was just doing a curl, I can only go so high to when it's over, but I'm doing it with this cable from a weird angle. And plus, like I said, I do it as part of a superset with a tricep push down or a tricep kick or something like that.
I love supersets for arms. I love, again, depending on, like, if you're prone to like tendonitis in the elbow and things like that, supersetting the arms probably isn't the greatest, but I love, arms should be a quick beaten. That's what I always like to say. You know what I mean? But a lot of people, like a lot of, like I said, some trainers are all about, you have to have the perfect range of motion and negative has to be perfect. You got to understand this. A lot of those guys never applied certain things, like as exercise physiologists, they didn't apply it to the gym. So when you're doing a bicep curl with a barbell and you're trying to get a heavier weight up, you're going to cheat. I just want to let everyone know that. You're going to swing that bar up. Now, the negative is important, obviously, but you can't get that amount of weight, which you shouldn't go overboard, but you're not going to get that amount of weight by doing that trick. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? So point being is, if you're trying to gain a little strength in the biceps or whatever, don't be afraid to cheat a little bit. Now, obviously you don't want to get your entire body into it and swing like
momentum.
Right. However, you're always going to cheat a little bit when you're trying to get bigger and stronger, when it comes to like more free weights and things like that. So everyone that's listening, don't be afraid to not have complete, strict time under tension, range of motion when it comes to a lot of stuff. Now, cables, on the other hand, like Joey would say, he likes to get that squeeze. He likes to get that negative, eccentric movement, which is really good for the biceps. Absolutely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like that type of thing in single arm, high cable, pulley curls with double arm. I like to use those either as a warm-up starter or a finisher type of thing. And then in the middle, like you said, you can do maybe something that's a little heavier. I don't go heavy, but when I used to go heavy before my joints were screwed up, I used to do a little bit. kind of try to get a decent set out, and then maybe the last 2 reps do a little bit of a cheat rep to try to just get a little heavier in for strength purposes. And that's kind of what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to remember there's a rhyme and reason for everything. Don't be afraid to cheat a little bit on those reps. Get a little momentum. Obviously, you don't want to go completely crazy, but otherwise, remember, you're not going to get the weight up. It's the truth. So, like I said, a lot of straight exercise physiologists that are like, no, this has to be 1 set to failure and things like that. They never applied it to the gym, and that's the truth. So you have to have a combination of both. And I love all that stuff, obviously, because science is science.
That's what you just went to school for.
Yeah, absolutely. Science is science. But remember, there's something called applied science. So what I mean by that is, get in there, get into the gym, learn your body, learn the movements. All right, you'll be able to figure out what you could cheat and what you can't. Obviously, you don't never want to hurt yourself and overextend and mess with your joints and whatever, but don't be afraid to cheat a little bit when it comes to certain things.
And also, are you feeling it?
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting a pump out of it and you're feeling it, even if the guy next to you is giving you that look like this guy doesn't know what he's doing, he's not feeling what you're feeling. So you might be able to get away with a couple of cheat reps on a bicep with a heavier weight.
I'll tell you one thing, that guy that's staring at you, and when he looks at your biceps and looks at your arms and they look phenomenal, guess who's going to be asking you what you're doing and why you're cheating and why you're doing that? So you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now here's another question. I like to, just because of my breakdown of how my body parts, how I do them, and I'm do a 5 on, 2 off weekly schedule. I choose to do biceps and triceps on the same day, and there could be pros and cons for it. My joints, like you just said, it's probably not good because I do a lot of supersets. It does hurt a little more with my joints, but then that's also another reason why I got to lighten the weight up. Do you feel it is a positive or a negative to do biceps together with triceps?
I think it's a positive because I like superset, and again, supersetting is another theory. It's another way of training that absolutely works. The only thing about, again, supersetting is if you have a lot of inflammation in your joints, that can cause, because you remember you're putting a lot of stress on one angle and then the other angle. If your joints allow it and you're used to it in your body, whatever, I think it's a great thing. Absolutely. Is it more beneficial? There is no, like we said, there is no beneficial or not. It all depends on the individual. You're still hitting your muscles. You're still, getting blood in the muscle. You're still going for strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everyone's different. My advice always is to never train the same for too long. Like don't do the exercises for 17 years, switch it up a little bit. Yeah. So, I like to go like every 6 weeks. I'll switch the program up just a little bit. Sometimes I'll do back and bi. Sometimes I'll do chest and try. Sometimes I'll just do straight chest. All right. You'll know and you'll feel that week, that soreness, that you did the right thing.
Yeah. I'm my own worst enemy. I am a creature of habit with the gym. I do get
so are we
into
all
those ruts sometimes because you just get used to it, and it's almost a robotic thing. You walk in on Monday. I don't do chest on International Chest Day. I do chest on Tuesdays because then there's no benches on Mondays. I do bis and tries on Monday, chest on Tuesday.
Now, that I must say, I would say it's not as beneficial as you think. And why do you think I'm going to say that?
Which is it?
Okay, so you're doing triceps on Monday, right?
And okay, because I'm push-pull.
Right.
Yes.
Then you're doing what on Tuesday?
I'm doing chest because the way I do my breakdown, there has to be one day where I'm doing something.
You're overlapping.
Exactly.
Okay.
Where I try to separate it with back on Wednesday, shoulders on Thursday, and legs on Friday because I really don't do my leg workout is just abysmal. It's horrible.
As long as you're getting blood in the muscle, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't. But also, I do legs the last day because if I have to skip a day in the gym, I pull.
You skip the legs.
Yeah, chest and arms.
You're the guy.
Yeah, I'm the cliche for
sure.
Yeah,
no doubt.
But I have no choice because if I do bis and tries together, I'm gonna be doing something the next day, chest, shoulders, back, whatever. I could do legs the next day, where then I wouldn't be hitting that thing. But
well, point being is if you and not, I'm not talking pre-exhaust in a good way. If you're doing a lot of triceps on a Monday and you plan to do chest on Tuesday, you're not really getting the full benefit of any kind of pushing in your chest. Now, if you're saying I'm only going to do flies on Tuesday, that's a different situation because you're taking the tricep out of it.
Yeah, no,
you
but
know,
I'm pressing obviously tricep is secondary muscle.
right? So I mean, again, listen, you have been consistent for years and years and years in the gym. Again, there's always rights and people say there's always rights and wrongs and this and that. You know what I mean? You're in there, you're doing your thing. You know your limitations. Just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Again, there's certain things that are ideal and certain things that are not. But life isn't ideal. Scheduling isn't ideal.
Yeah.
So I always say it like that.
I've done that too, where I do strict push pull, back buys, chest side. But sometimes I find that even if I try to like rotate, okay, I'm doing chest and tries, so I'll do chest this week first, and then the next week I'll do tries first, just so I'm not hitting that second muscle group when it's weaker. So I've been able to do that where I move things around. Luckily, in the gym we work out in, there's so many options. A lot of guys work out at home. They have one bench and one thing like that.
Right.
We work out at ProFit in Deer Park, New York. The gym is dynamite. We've spoken about it before. I mean, if you do the same workout twice, it's because you're just being lazy in a place like that. Because there are so many machines that sometimes you see, oh wow, there's a new machine. Like she's got an Alex, the owner, is fantastic. She's got those new hammer things I was talking about a few weeks ago. I've done them like every third chest workout or whatever. The flat bench and the incline one. The angles on those are incredible.
Yeah. I love hammer strength. I always did. And it's, in fact, when we talked about hammer strength, last week or whatever, I saw that the hammer strength rep, this guy Dan, I know.
Oh, somebody,
he's a good dude. But I've always loved hammer strength. Getting back to what you said, there's always switching things up. I wouldn't switch things up too much, weekly, and people tend to go crazy when I got to switch this up. Like I said, your body wants to get used to certain things also. I know some old school guys have never switched things up, which I don't completely agree with, but you don't want to hit the same. You don't want to constantly switch things up weekly. That's my opinion. Give your body a chance to really, get stronger at that certain angle. Your body will respond to a lot of things. You know what I mean?
Even like the order of exercises you're doing for buys, let's say. You're going to do these 4 exercises, let's say. Today, maybe you'll start with this, and then the next time you do buys, you'll start with the second one, and then you rotate it around.
Absolutely.
I mean, even like that, I'm saying, or the different benches where maybe it's the same exercise, but it's going from a slightly different angle because you're using the hammer preacher, or you're using the cable preacher.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? It's still a preacher curl, but it's a different angle a little bit.
I'll tell you what I love to do, because I don't really feel my biceps crazy when I'm doing straight sets. I love to do drop sets with biceps. I mean, there's no doubt. I don't feel them otherwise. I really chest, I feel immediately when I do certain things. Back's different or whatever the case.
It's a tougher one to feel,
right, because there's so many muscles in your back, and there's such dense muscles. But you always tend to, if you hit back the right way, you might not feel it that day, but you'll feel that the next 2 days when you stretch or something, you'll feel your back working. But as far as biceps, I always do drop sets. I love to exhaust my my biceps to failure. You know what I mean? And I always felt that they respond very well to that.
Drop sets are good. I do like them. The thing that I actually noticed that I get the best out of biceps is the high cable. And in ProFit, again, I'm going to say there's a plate loaded machine, which is a seated high cable curl with the little the bars on it, and you could do them.
That's a Nautilus one you're talking about?
Yes, I do it rotating. You can do it together. Yeah, I do left and right, but you could do it together if you want. And I usually start and finish with a rep together, and then I do my full set of 15 alternating.
So your biceps tend to respond to that very well. Mine don't.
That's my first. I usually try to do that or a high cable curl. And there's so many different machines to do high cable curls on, not just the cable crossovers.
Yeah.
That I I do that at the beginning of my bicep. Like I said, I do it as a warm up a lot, and then I'll do the other one as a finisher. And I feel right from that first set, I'm getting a pump out of my biceps from that high cable.
Yeah,
curl.
everyone's different. I tend not to. For some reason, I always had kind of shoulder issues when it came to a couple things. So I had rotator cuff surgery. So that angle does not sit well with my curl, the way, so that really doesn't hit the way I want. There's another machine. It's the preacher machine where you're it's down, your hands are going down on it, but it's the preacher curl on the machine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great machine to do drop sets.
That's so easy with the key.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great machine. And my, again, my biceps just respond a little better, and everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone is different when it comes to, it's the same concept. People can grow. There's guys that have incredible calves that haven't worked out in their life. But then there's this guy,
with those calves like crazy.
Yeah, and they're just never growing.
They're two-dimensional. Yeah.
The way it is.
I actually have natural, decent sized calves, but I train them every day.
Right.
I do 4 sets every day that I'm in the gym for calves, and I really hit them hard. So I had a little head start, but I took advantage of the head start, which is good. Also, people might be confused. What do you mean by supersets, drop sets? Obviously, drop sets, you do your 10, 15, 12, whatever reps you're doing with this, your first weight. Then you might bring it down 10 pounds on each side. If you're using a bar or dumbbells or the key on the machine, now you're doing 10 reps. And you can basically, like you said, almost you can do 3 drop sets. It all depends on what your intentions are.
The intention is to exhaust that specific muscle that you're training. And that's a great way to grow. Again, that's high intensity.
Yeah.
There's high volume, high intensity with certain. That's a great way to grow, especially in my opinion, when you're doing a single joint movement.
You can really,
absolutely
focus and really.
I never do drop sets like that with bench pressing or anything like that. Sometimes I'll do it with back, the machines, but I'll never do drop sets. It's pointless to me to do drop sets because you're already pre-exhausting.
I do it on the smaller muscles,
Absolutely.
like with biceps, triceps, things like that.
Absolutely.
Maybe rear delts, something like that. I do it with. And supersets, a lot of people confuse and think I did a superset when they really mean a drop down set. And a superset is you're doing a different body part.
Absolutely.
Where it's like I did my high cable curls with the bar for biceps. Now I'm doing my tricep push down.
Correct.
And then when you do triples, it's giant sets. If sometimes people might say something the wrong way, but as long as if you're doing something like that, regardless of whatever you're calling it, you're still doing something good,
right? Well, there's all different techniques when it comes to trying to rebuild muscle, and again, that's the science, that's the fun of it, that's the beauty of it. Like I said, drop sets for biceps though. I always, because I feel what I want to feel. It takes minimal time. You could do an arm exercise. You could do an arm workout, buys and tries. Some of the best arm workouts I've ever done, buys and tries, Joey, have taken 15 minutes to do.
Yeah, because you're not spending a lot of time in between sets.
I'm supersetting, drop setting. You know what I mean? So if you think something like that, I'm supersetting a bicep curl, tricep exercise, and I'm drop setting that boom, that's what I'm doing. 3 sets of that. That's one exercise. I do 2 more exercises like that. You're done. You're toast.
You can't even feel your hands.
You're toast.
Yeah,
you're toast.
But that's a thing that I noticed. It's like you said, everybody is different of what they get out of a certain exercise. And as we start talking about different body parts, we'll also speak about what's our personal go-to. When I say go-to, I mean the one that you feel the most.
Right.
We'll stick with biceps since we're doing that today. But I always got to get that high cable one in. And that to me always just, I don't know why. Maybe it's just the angle of it.
It's the angle.
The blood flow, how it's going.
Absolutely.
It's maybe it doesn't hurt my joints as much, especially the seated machine, because it has like a cradle where with the pads where you're in.
Well, that's what you got to understand. This is why they make all this stuff, because everyone's different.
Yeah.
So every angle is different. Everything is different when it comes to that. But yeah, so I hope we explained biceps
Biceps.
as best as possible and some different options for you guys.
Yeah. So we're running out of time. We got to go here. Next week, it's Happy Labor Day. We will not be here, so we'll be doing an encore of this show. Trevor has it on tape. We're going to run another this episode again next week, but we will be back on September 11th with a very special show Anthony and I will have for you over there. And just to check us out at musclesportmag.com, WGBBradio.com, 95.9 FM and 1240 AM on your dial. That's going to do it for us. For Anthony Tuminello, I am Joe Pietaro. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again live in 2 weeks.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.